Where's your playlist taking you? Down the highway? To the mountains? Or just into daydream mode while you're stuck in traffic? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there to help you make the most of your getaway, wherever that is. Because the only thing better than a great playlist is a great trip. Life's the trip. Make the most of it at Best Western. Book direct and save at bestwestern.com.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallis. After only 11 days of cricket, Australia retained the Ashes with victory in the third test in Adelaide. And to look back at the action, a variety of guests have joined me in the Ashes The Final Say. 3 former test cricketers, 2 current internationals, journalists, authors and a radio presenter spread across 5 parts give us their reaction to Australia's 4-1 series victory. Our opening guest in part 4 is Rosa Simkin from Rosa Talks Ball, a regular on the podcast who recently joined me in episode 384, Cricket's Moment, to discuss the forthcoming Women's T20 World Cup. Hello Rosa, congratulations, you got the scoreline right, 4-1 to Australia.
Hello, Stephen. It's a miracle of 2026. Not for England fans, but for my prediction record, that's for sure.
You featured in part 4 of Who Will Win the Men's Ashes, and that's the second prediction you've got right on this show, as you also got the winners of the Women's 100 with Northern Superchargers.
We've been on a bit of a roll in recent times, to be fair. It's nice to know that I somewhat know what I'm talking about as far as cricket is concerned.
You weren't the only one that got it right, but there was a lot of optimistic people, myself included, who didn't get it right. You were worried about England's batting and you were concerned about the pace bowling. Well, you were definitely proved right there.
Yeah, I mean, the pace bowling was bad before those additional injuries, and I think it got gradually worse throughout the series, obviously losing Wood and an Archer, which was a real shame, actually, because they were both very exciting when they did play.
But 4-1, a fair reflection of the action?
I'd say so. I think it felt right that England got that one win because they were at times fighting, but Australia in all areas were the better team. And they showed their class on a home circuit.
So in your opinion, what went wrong for England?
I think there's a couple of things that weren't ideal. I think the central one was the under preparation for the series. They didn't play enough warm-up games before it started. But also not even that, the playing time of the England players. I will die on this hill. Cricketers need to be playing regular cricket. And that includes the England players. They need to be playing county cricket over the English summer. Because you don't improve if you're not practicing your skills. And if you've got players who can't stay fit to play a game once every couple of weeks, it may sound harsh, but are they the players you want on a test circuit? Test cricket is very much about longevity, and that starts in the fitness of your players, especially your pace bowlers. And also, in part of that was all the stuff to do with the Kookaburra ball experiment in the county championship. I think it led to improper preparation because there's a reason we don't use the Kookaburra in the UK. It doesn't behave on our surfaces as the Dukes does. So therefore, preparing for an Ashes by using a Kookaburra in the UK, it's not going to be sufficient.
So did you get to follow much of the action during those university days?
I'll be honest, I started following less and less as the series went on. But I always had a bit of an eye on the scorecard, and my dad, when I came back home, was always watching the highlights packages. So I did see quite a lot of the cricket, but definitely not as much as you did.
No, I unfortunately or fortunately saw how many days did I see in the end? 2 in Perth, 4 in Brisbane, and 2 in Adelaide before I came home. Seriously hot the last day in Adelaide. It was 42 on my last day I was there.
I mean, that is absolutely scorching. I would be struggling in that heat.
Any highlights for you? I'm thinking I can guess one of them.
Jacob Bethel was probably my ultimate highlight. I think for him to come in those last two games and then score 150 in that final one really sends a message about, look, you've picked me, look what I can do. And I've watched Jacob play for many years at Warwickshire, and he's a talent. And we just need to make sure he's now playing regular multi-day cricket and playing some more first-class games for Warwickshire. Also, have to give a shout out, of course, to Joe Root. First century down under, that was pretty incredible and nice to see that he's got over that bump. Josh Tongue Pfeiffer as well. But I also want to give an honorary mention to Mitchell Stark because his bowling throughout the series was an absolute delight to watch.
Yeah, 31 wickets in the series. It was a hard watch on that first day at Perth, although that was probably, apart from the second day at Melbourne, our best day in the series. The number 3 debate's now over then between Pope and Bethel.
I'd say so. I mean, who performed under the pressure? And sometimes it's as simple as that. You've got Ollie Pope, who's had a lot of opportunities now to cement his place in that squad, and he's not taken them. And then you've got this youngster coming in for the first time, and he's able to perform. And I think you've got to back him all the way now.
As for the future, where do England go now on and off the field?
I mean, on the field, as I've said, the players need to be playing county cricket. I said the same with our whitewash, the women's whitewash last year. You know, if cricketers aren't playing cricket, they don't improve. And that feels pretty self-explanatory. The ECB needs to let their players play for their counties and let go of that grip ever so slightly. But in terms of a management point of view, I don't think McCullum is the right person to take the team forward. I think the biggest thing for me after a series where a team doesn't perform is who takes accountability for it. And a couple of the players have put their hands up. I'm thinking of Joe Root, I'm thinking of Ben Stokes, and said, look, we weren't good enough. McCullum has not taken accountability, and the coach plays a very central role in Test cricket. And currently, I don't think they're improving with him at the head.
So you think when England line up against New Zealand at the very beginning of June this year that Brendan McCullum won't be the coach?
I don't think he should be the coach, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was, based on the messaging that the ECB have put out, the statement they released after the final day. But I mean, I look at England women and how much they've improved now under a new head coach, and I think sometimes you just need a change of scenery. I'd keep backing Stokes as captain. I think he is a good leader for that team, but as far as the management is concerned, I think something does need to change.
So finally then, can you give us a mark out of 10 for England?
I thought about this quite deeply because I didn't want to be too harsh. But I am being harsh anyway. I'm going to give them a 3 out of 10 because there were some good moments. They did win a game. But overall, I think it's a series that most England fans would like to forget, and quickly.
It looks like we should all be following Rosa's cricket predictions heading into 2026. Next up in part 4 is Mark Campbell, better known as Cambo on 89.7 FM in Perth. Hello, Mark. I've got to begin by saying you went for 3-1 Australia.
I did, and I was a bit disappointed, Stephen, to be honest. I didn't realise England was so rubbish. We got 4-1. I tell you what, I wasn't expecting that, but then again, I wasn't expecting Melbourne to finish in 2 days either when England won. So, yeah, 3-1 I went for and missed it by 1. I thought there'd be a draw, but anyhow, there you are.
Well, we did get some rain during the series. You were sceptical of Bazball, and you also wondered whether the bowlers were going to last the series, and you were right on the money there.
Well, you had Stokes played 5, Bryden Cast played 5 and went for plenty, but he took 22 wickets at 30. But then all the other bowlers, the much vaunted pace attack that England were bragging about. Mark Wood lasted a test match. Jofra Archer lasted 3. Atkinson lasted 3. Josh Tongue only played 3. And that was the England attack that they wanted to bring to Australia, and they had everything they needed and all that sort of stuff. And guess what? Just came into a big hole because the preparation prior was terrible. And I did say with the batters that Zach Crawley had only played Big Bash here, Duckett had only played Big Bash here, Root hadn't scored 100 here, Brook had never been here, Bethel was untried, and Pope had never scored a 50 here either, and that was your top 6. 5 out of your top 6, and that proved right as well because I tell you what, Ben Duckett averaged 20. That's almost, need we say, that's almost Warner-like on one of his tours to the UK when he averaged 10 over 10 test, 5 over 10 innings in 5 tests.
Well, you haven't disappointed. I thought you'd say some of that. Joe Root did get 2 centuries during the series.
Yes, and that was a bit of a surprise, let me tell you. And now they're all talking about, well, he could pass Sachin and Tendulkar and all this sort of stuff. Well, if England keep playing all the test matches they do and playing against all the lesser countries, he got a very big chance. But no, fair's fair. He did bat very well. Averaged 44 for the summer in the tests. His career average is 53, so he's still down on his career average. So, but no, fair play to him. He actually played well. Got big hundreds as well, 160 odd, and fair play to him. He made 400 runs, which is the first time he's got over 400 in Australia. So, fair play. Got to give credit where credit's due.
Let's focus a bit on the victors. What went right for the Aussies then?
Everything. Everything. I tell you what, Mitch Stark had one out of the box, took 31 wickets for the series. Scotty Boland took 20. Michael Neser came from the clouds as a pink ball specialist, and he ended up taking 15 wickets as well. But for all the bowlers, it was the discipline they showed where they would just continually hit that spot outside off stump, and not many times England got away from them at all. So that was the key to it. But Stark, how many wickets did he get in that first over? Zach Crawley will have nightmares forever.
Yeah, it weren't the best start for me in the Perth test. Although the Perth test of the days I went to, I think I saw 8 days of Test cricket. The best day I saw for England was the first day at Perth.
Yeah, and I don't think it was a 19-wicket day either, just quietly. I don't think it was a 19-wicket a wicket that they prepared either. I just think that was just bad batting. And the worst part was I knew the writing was on the wall for England when they were virtually 1 for 100 in front at lunch on day 2, and they lost 9 wickets in the session. And I thought, that's it. England are done. They'll be lucky to win 1, let alone draw 1. I thought then it was going to be a 5-0 whitewash.
What did your listeners think then on 89.7 FM in Perth?
Well, a lot of English up here, so they were all still pretty, we lost the Perth test, but we've still got a chance. You Australians, you haven't got Cummings and you haven't got Hazelwood and you haven't got Lyon. You didn't even bowl him. What's the point of taking him? And you won't have them for the series and all that sort of stuff. And Cummings, to be fair, only played the 1 game. So played the 1 game and didn't add too much to it. Got 6 wickets in that game, but only played the 1 game. So, he was not there, and Hazelwood wasn't there, and Lyon wasn't there, and you're ripe for the picking, and Australia have got an ageing list. Stark's 35 and Boland's 35, and now they've gone for some youth. They brought in Neser, who's 35, and I'm sitting back going, you can't bat. And your bowling attack Wood, Archer, and Steve Smith was right in Brisbane when Archer fired up to 150 in the second innings when Australia only needed 60 to win. He was right. Only wants to have a try when he feels like it. You know, Atkinson was found wanting he had the pace, but just didn't have the direction, just picked them off. But I think the English selectors helped Australia out too because they just didn't pick the team. They just thought they would come here, pick the players, have a look at it. Oh, no Cummings, no Hazelwood, no Lyon. Oh, our batters will feast. Our bowlers will get rid of Australia because they haven't got a recognised opener. Kawaja's 39. He can't go on for too much longer. Labuschagne's been struggling. Where are they going to bat Green? And guess what? Didn't matter, to be fair.
What was the reaction then in Perth to a 2-day test match?
Well, I did say on our sports program to one of my fellow panelists because he's originally from England, up in the north, and I said to him, Australia Cricket would like to thank you for the $2.5 million you brought in tourism to Perth because we've had the first Ashes series. But now Cricket Australia would like to also thank you for losing us $3 million for having a 2-day test because you're rubbish.
But did you get much? No. Did you get much reaction from listeners who were going on day 3 and things like that?
Yeah, we had a couple, and by the end of the series, I think we did it after the Melbourne series. What is the idea of an optimist? It's a person that buys day 4 tickets to an Ashes test.
Well, I saw day 4 in Brisbane. It lasted a lot longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, it did, which surprised me a lot, to be fair. I didn't think it'd go that. I thought Melbourne would be the one that England would draw because I didn't think the Melbourne wicket would last. I thought that would be just a road by day 3, but it didn't get there. So, and I didn't. That was the one I thought they would draw. I thought they would win Brisbane because they'd win the toss and Brisbane would suit their bowling attack. But as it worked out, nothing helped.
Oh, we kept winning the toss. We won 4 tosses out of 5.
Yeah, it didn't help much.
No. So what mark out of 10 would you give the Australians?
Oh, 7 or 8. 8 probably. 8 out of 10. There were still a couple of areas they could have improved. Obviously losing Melbourne in 2 days and then Sydney allowing England to get over 300 in both innings. Didn't make any difference because Australia made 500, but, England got us over 300 in both innings there. So probably 8 out of 10.
I daren't really ask what mark you give England out of 10.
Oh, which part? Can we go between playing and admin?
Well, you can do both if you like.
The administration of the England team, the way they prepared the team, the way they picked the team, the way they've handled themselves over here, probably 2. And under those adverse conditions, you have to give the players a 3.
I thought you were being generous there.
Well, 3 out of 10 because Root, let's be fair, did play well. Harry Brook showed glimpses of why he's averaging 55 against the lesser countries, but against the top line countries, he's not averaging that high, and that'll be a bit of a concern. But they can't, and there's no consequences. And we're Stokes getting trotted out saying, "Oh, we're confident in the way we're preparing and all that sort of stuff." But there was just the arrogance of the administration of the English test team that was the issue because they didn't do the preparation. They didn't ask anybody's opinion outside of their little purple circle of what they thought Australian conditions would do. For example, Darren Lehman coaches at Northants. They could have asked him. Need we say Ryan Campbell coaches up at Durham, another Australian? They could have asked him. Michael Vaughan's been out here for 8 seasons in a row doing commentating former captain of England. They could have asked him. You know, they were they've been so insulated. And then at the end of the Sydney Test, Ben Stokes turns around and says, "Oh well, for the first 18 months of baseball, they didn't know how to play us, and now in the last 18 months, they've worked it out." But in that last 18 months, they've played Australia, India, Australia, 10 test matches, 15 test matches. They've only won 5 and got absolutely belted in the other ones. So a bit of arrogance there by the hierarchy, but, you know, they need to just sit back. Will there be any repercussions? Because I've already heard, you know, James Anderson turning around saying, "Oh, the positive for England is that we found the new stars for the new breed, and Australia will struggle next time because, you know, they've got aging stars." And all. It's all nonsense. They're all trying to talk themselves up. They need to face the facts. You got beat. Didn't just get beat. You got belted after saying it was the weakest Australian team for 10 years. Our best chance for 10 years. We've been working up to this series for 2 years. We've got this, we've got that, we've got this, you've got that. You got belted, boys. Go back to the drawing board. Let these blokes that came out here have a good look at themselves. And for heaven's sakes, someone give Shoaib Bashir a packet of Kleenex. He had the best job in the world. He got a 5-month free trip. Didn't have to do anything. Didn't play a game. Got a holiday visa.
I expected this to be good copy, so my next question, my next question now is, it's almost after what you just said. Can England win back the Ashes in 2027?
No. Worst case scenario is they'll get a draw and we'll keep the Ashes again.
But you haven't won here since 2001, so it will be a big target for the Australian team, as it was the last couple of times, won't it?
Yeah, but see, the good thing with us is that we only have to draw. So we don't have to actually win games. We only have to draw games and win a couple. And, you know, from an Australian point of view, as long as it's not overcast and cloudy, we'll always win at Lord's, because we just always do, and then try and pinch one somewhere. But I'm sure England, as they did in 1956, will dock the wickets and make them dry as a bone, or whatever they're doing next. I mean, they've got the bowling attack, but then again, you know, having said that, they've found some bowlers. Well, I'm not quite sure about that. You might have Bryden Cass.
Josh Tongue should still be there.
Josh Tongue. With Stokes, you don't know if he'll be there because of his body. Mark Wood won't be there because of his body. Jofra Archer, who knows? And you found Jacob Bethel. So you found one.
You're not confident then, are you? You're not confident England can win back these Ashes, are you? No.
No, not for a while.
I don't know what you'd ever do. What you'd ever do if the next England coach was a Ryan Campbell? Then that would be difficult for you, wouldn't it?
Gosh, that would be difficult. I must admit, blood's thicker than water, they say, Stephen. But I don't think I could ever barrack for England. I could barrack for England against India or Pakistan or New Zealand, but I don't think I could barrack for England playing Australia, to be fair, even if he was coaching.
Well, let's end by asking you how your own cricket's been going since I met you in Perth. And thanks again for letting me come on your radio station, 89.7 FM, the Campbell Free-for-All.
Yeah.
How's your cricket been going?
That was an absolute pleasure. Struggling, to be honest. Yeah, been struggling. Teams have been struggling. Batting's been struggling. It's just been a bit of a letdown after, obviously, the state carnival I went on, and been struggling a little bit, but we're always confident we'll get there the next time.
Are you still hoping to come over to the UK this summer?
Yes. Well, we've got tour dates now. Well, not tour dates, but tour time virtually. So we look like we might be there in July. Going to Malta first for a week and 2 matches, and then coming to the UK for 3 weeks. But then hopefully we'll dovetail on a little bit longer, so I can catch up with Ryan in Durham and my daughter in Essex.
That sounds good. Where do you know where you're going to be playing in the UK?
No, not yet. Haven't seen the fixtures. I know Malta is the first stop, so I had 2 games in Malta, so never been there before, so that'll be interesting. But that'll be, I think we're leaving about halfway through July, I think. It only actually, funny you should ask, Stephen, it only came up yesterday, actually. We had a what they call a HRE Cup game yesterday. And the boys that had gone away to Wollongong were talking about the upcoming England tour. So, yeah.
Is that for WA over 70s?
Not quite. WA over 60s. Not quite over 70s
Oh,
yet.
of course, yeah. Sorry, I should edit this, but I won't now because I'll apologise instead.
No, don't. Old boys cricket, but not over 70s yet, over 60s. So WA over 60s.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Say hello to Shelley and Shelley's mum, Kay, and thank you again for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
My pleasure, Stephen, anytime, and hopefully we'll catch up in July when we get over there.
Yes, must do. Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
We heard you. 9 years of Bring Back the Snack Wrap, and you've won. But maybe you should have asked for more. Say hello to the Hot Honey Snack Wrap. Now you've really won. Go to McDonald's and get it while you can.
My next guest on the Ashes, the final say, is Murray Harrison, Australia over 70s World Cup vice captain. Is that still the case, Murray?
No, not anymore. I'm just one of the players now.
Just one of the players. Well, you were right about the Ashes. You said 3-2 Australia. No moral victory for England this time.
No, I thought it'd be closer than it was, to be honest. I think I was, we were all a little bit disappointed in the competition. I think England made quite a few mistakes, to be honest. I also think Australia was vulnerable.
You did say in our previous chat in part 2 that you thought England had a strong batting side. We must develop that one. And you were worried about the frailties of the Australian batting, which did come true.
Yes. I think we here in Australia have papered over our frailties in our batting, to be honest. If it wasn't for Travis Head and Alex Carey, I think we would have been in quite a bit more trouble. But I think the one of the keys there is that I thought England just bowled badly most of the series, to be honest. My take on the series in general is that Australia's bowling and fielding was just relentless, far better than England's, and you let us get away with, as I say, some, I thought, wayward bowling that didn't expose the potential weakness in the Australian batting lineup.
I was out there myself, but what was the reaction from Australians about the final scoreline? Did they think that was a fair reflection, 4-1?
I think so. I think after the first, I think after Brisbane, I think we were hoping for 5-0, and the Melbourne game, it was, as you probably know, I was there on the second day of the Melbourne game, and it just didn't feel like Test cricket, to be honest. It was all a bit was all a bit disappointing. I think most of the crowd was largely disappointed at the end of the game. It was, if you went off to the toilet, you missed a wicket, and it was just frenetic the whole day. People have been going on about the pitch, and the pitch, no doubt, had a bit in it, but I thought there was some terrible batting during that day from both sides, to be honest.
So you were a lucky omen for us. You saw the England win.
Yes, I did. I was there the only day.
We didn't have many good days in the 18 that were. I think one of them was the first day in Perth, but you must have seen England's best day of the series.
I think I did. But it was, as I say, it just didn't feel like Test cricket. It was, Steve Smith was the only batsman in the Australian lineup that looked like he wasn't going to get out. We didn't, when England came to get the runs, it didn't look like they weren't going to be honest. It was a good opening partnership. I just, we got a few wickets towards the end, but it was just it just wasn't a real Test match, like I think Sydney was, to be honest. But it just didn't feel like a Test. It seemed to me like people were throwing their wickets away, and it was no. It just. I've been every year to the Melbourne Test, and that was probably the least satisfying, to be honest.
Were you only going on the second day?
Oh, well, I actually wanted to go. I've been going on the Boxing Day for about 30 or 40 years, but I couldn't get tickets. So I needed to get a batch of about half a dozen tickets, and I couldn't get them mainly because all the English people bought all the tickets, I think. So we were forced to go as a group on the second day. So.
But what was the atmosphere like? Although you say it's disappointing to see Australia lose, but over 90,000 there.
No, the atmosphere's fabulous. It's that's why I go every year. It's a tradition. I grew up in Melbourne. It's fabulous, and the anticipation for this one with the Ashes, of course, it was, which is why all the tickets sold out. And it just, the game just didn't meet the expectation, which was a real pity in the end. But that didn't really dampen the spirits on the day itself. What happens is there's usually quite a lot of banter that goes on in the crowd itself. You'd probably experience that when you were there yourself. And we had quite a few English supporters around us who we were getting stuck into at one stage, and they were getting stuck into us at the end. So that's part of the fun.
You weren't near the Barmy Army then?
I wasn't. No, the Barmy Army I thought were very quiet on the second day. They fired up a little bit towards the end of the day, but as I say, the English support and the whole series was extraordinary. And we were next to the Barmy Army, but we had plenty of people supporting England near where we were.
So overall, the Australian series victory was based around, I've written down here really, five and a half players: Head, Stark, Carey, Boland, Michael Neser, and Steve Smith at Sydney.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think our bowling and fielding was the real key. And I thought it was significant in Brisbane when Carey came up to the stumps for Neser and Boland, and in the series in 23, wasn't it, in England, when England got stuck into Scott Boland, they did it by going down the track and getting to his length, and Carey coming up to the stumps stopped them doing that, and they just didn't seem to have a plan B. I think I heard Robert Key at one stage say, medium paces with keep it up to the stumps is long gone. We're not going to see that anymore. I don't think England were able to respond. They didn't have a plan B when that plan in effect worked in Brisbane.
And as a wicketkeeper, Alex Carey was outstanding. I was there at Brisbane when he took that standing up catch.
Yeah, no, he surprised me, to be honest. He's a good keeper, but he was a great keeper in that series. It was exceptional, and of course with the bat as well. If he took Head and Carey pretty much carried the batting most of the tour, apart from Smith at the end.
A mark out of 10 then for England and Australia.
As I say, I thought the England bowling was poor for most of the series. I mean, obviously, suffered from injuries to Archer and Wood and Atkinson, but Australia had their own injury problems. There were just too many poor balls bowled. Bowling short and wide at Travis Head just doesn't make any sense at all. I thought the series flattered Australia a little bit. I think mainly because of that we got away with the batting with a reasonably fragile batting lineup. I still think it is. I don't see how you give England more than I don't see how you give them a pass, Mark, to be honest. Maybe 5 out of 10, but only just. I thought as other people have commented, I mean, the preparation was just ridiculous. I know the Lilac Hill Ground in Perth. I've played there myself. It's it doesn't give you. It's a nice wicket, but it's not challenging. To have a bit of a practice match at Lilac Hill before the first test just didn't make any sense at all. I thought England didn't really get started until halfway through the Adelaide test. So I don't think they get a pass overall. I'd probably squeak them up to 5 out of 10. And I think, as I say, apart from our bowling and catching, which obviously was the key ingredient in my view. I thought the overall standard, the quality of the cricket was. I thought we all expected more, and I don't think the quality was all that high really over the course. There were some standouts. Obviously, Stark was brilliant. I haven't seen Stark bowl that well ever. Head's 100 in Perth was unbelievable, but it was only bits and pieces. I thought the general standard was not up to what we might have expected. So I'd only give Australia about 7.5, to be honest.
And moving forward to 2027, we've heard a lot in the UK that England are in a better place to win the Urn back in 18 months' time. What's your reaction to that?
I think we've heard that before, Stephen.
The last 2 home series we haven't won. It's been 2 all both times. So, regarding really, I suppose they're thinking because Australia have got an ageing side. Will some of these players be back in 18 months' time?
I think that's quite obvious. The Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, Lyon bowling attack. I'd be surprised if they're still going by mid next year, all of them anyway. They've carried us for an awful long time. Steve Smith, I think 35, maybe 36. Carey himself, I'm not sure he's that young either.
Well, they're all over 30, aren't they? So
they're all over 30. Yeah. Cameron Green, I think, is the only one who isn't, and he was probably a disappointment this time. But I do think he's got a lot of talent. I think a lot will depend on how the Australian team, brings in the new blood over the next 18 months. I think they have to, and it is a period of transition. I think for Australia. I guess that automatically gives England a bit of a head start in relation to 27 because it is a very young team. Bethel's innings in Sydney was fabulous. It was I watched most of that, and it was just a good batsman doing his job. Obviously. Brooke, who I thought was generally a bit of a disappointment, has got a lot of talent. I don't know whether Joe Root will still be going, but the English strengths, I think, will still be there, if not enhanced in 27, and the Australian strengths probably won't be. So it's a matter of how we replace those and how we face it. But I mean, you don't want to predict these things. I reckon. How many times at the start of the series, this is the worst team ever to tour, and all that sort of comment hardly ever stands up. So I don't argue with the idea that England had probably been they'd be in a better position in 27 than they've shown this year. But I wouldn't write us off by any stretch.
There's a long way to go, but I'll hang on to those thoughts of 2027. Australia haven't won in England since 2001, but when you
No,
come to England, it is a bit more competitive than when we go to Australia.
it is. It is. And you probably should have won the last series too, as it turned out. But
Well, we had the moral victory in 2020.
oh, that's, of course,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Can't forget that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
My next guest is Richard Whitehead, author of Victory in Australia. No victory this time, Richard, unlike 1954-55.
No, very different to 1954-55. It's a funny thing, Stephen, but my book's got this slightly, well, what's the right word? Contentious claim on as the subtitle that 54-55 was England's greatest Ashes victory. I believe it was, and we probably spoke about why I think that before. But so I was doing a load of events, bookshops, cricket societies before the tour started, and I was sort of cheekily saying to people, well, maybe, after this series, I'm going to have to change my subtitle for the paperback. But there's absolutely no danger of that, is there?
Certainly not. I don't know whether you're familiar with 58-59, but I did a bit of research. It was a bit more like that. And I didn't realise until about half an hour ago when I did research that this England team on that tour included Truman, Bailey, Graveney, Cowdrey, Evans, Locke, Statham, Laker, Dexter, Captain Peter May, and they lost 4-0.
It was an interesting tour. That somebody I spoke to said, well, you should write about that tour because it is interesting from lots of points of view. The England team on paper was better than in 54-55, but a lot of them, I don't know how far your research took you, but a lot of them were getting to their end of their careers. And it was the last series, I think, for Trevor Bailey. It's definitely Trevor Bailey and I think Godfrey Evans. And there was a bit of a thing. It was a bit like 2013-14 when it sort of marked the end of an era, really, 58-59. But there was also, and this wouldn't have shown up just looking at the scorecards, Australia had some terrible chukkers. Had 3 or 4 chukkers, and England felt that they couldn't object, that it would be wrong to make too much of a fuss about it. So it's quite an interesting tour. It's also the first tour where they had TV in Australia. So, writing about 54-55, there was not even any TV in Australia at that point. So, but yes, definitely comparisons, definitely.
Yeah, because even going a bit deeper, just with the sheer results, England actually identically to this tour lost the first 2 test matches by 8 wickets. The third was drawn. They lost the 4th by 10 wickets and the 5th by 9 wickets. But not only that, the actual scores, I mean, the 8-wicket victory in the first test, Australia got 147. Second test, 8 wickets, they got 42. The 10 wickets, they only needed 36. And the 9 wickets, they needed 69. So they were real stuffings, weren't they?
They were, yeah. I didn't know that. I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? I suppose what the tours future historians looking at this might say that what the tours do have in common is perhaps a bit of complacency on England's part. You have to remember that going in 58-59, England had won the last 3 series. 53, 54, 55 and 56. So if England were a little bit complacent, that might have been understandable.
You did go for 3-2, but as a caveat, you did also say, when I played back your recording, that it was a very difficult one to call, and you said it could be 4-1 Australia. But so you were right in 2 goes, yeah.
I was asked for predictions by a variety of people, including yourself, of course, and yeah, I did say that. Because it was so hard. It was so hard to call, and you didn't really know which England would turn up, did you? And I think, like most of us, I had a hope that the good England would turn up and they'd be battle hardened and they'd be ready, and Australia would have maybe injury problems. Well, in fact, Australia did have the injury problems, but it didn't make any difference, did it?
So what do you think went wrong for England?
Well, not going to be the only one saying this, am I? I think the preparation issue is difficult. We know we're never going to go back to 6 or 7 first-class games like we had in 54, 55. Everyone understands that. So that's the preparation issue is difficult. I think it's not been said enough that it's hard to find serious opposition. Even if England had 3 games, they probably would have been against fairly feeble teams. I mean, I think certainly in 2019, Australia played 1 game, 11 against 11 amongst themselves at the Rosa, at the Ageas Bowl, didn't they? So I don't know what they did in 2020. So it's no good pining for an era of multiple first-class games before the test. However, I do wonder if in the interests of a good contest, the 2 boards should get their heads together and maybe have a gentleman's agreement that they will provide good opposition, state or county opposition, in order to make the series more competitive when they come round. So, we have a deal with them that when they come here, they play 3 counties and the counties will put out decent sides. And we have the same agreement with them when we go over there. But actually, away from time in the middle, Stephen, I just think there was a lack of seriousness about the preparation. Just a lack of thinking it was going to be okay just to turn up on the day at Perth and it would all click into shape, all click into place, rather. I do think that. I do think there was a lack of seriousness in the preparation. I really do.
And the first two matches were on the 2 spiciest wickets, although you could argue then we went to Melbourne, but we really had to win one of those first 2 test matches.
Yeah, I did an event at the Cheltenham Literature Festival with Mike Atherton, and people were obviously, he's slightly more well-informed than me, and he said, we'll win the first test. That was his prediction. He was very confident that we will win the first test, and he was thinking about their fast bowlers being absent as well. So, definitely we had to get on top early on if we were going to win the series, didn't we? And we lamentably failed to do so.
Frank Tyson was the key player in 54, 55. Your key players on our previous recording were Mark Wood, who bowled 11 overs in the series, and Jofra Archer, who in fairness took 9 wickets in the 3 tests he played and got a 50, and he got a 5 for.
Well, would it have been a different strategy to play? It was probably unlikely that either of them were going to play in 5. I mean, Mark Woods is a fantastic bowler and a brilliant chap, as we all know, but, his record is terrible, isn't it? His injury record is terrible. He was never going to play in 5. Did they make a mistake playing them together? Could they not have kept Wood back for, to come in for the 4th test? And I know they couldn't have anticipated Archer lasting 3 tests, but Archer did his reputation no harm at all, I don't think, did he? He bowled pretty well. But, as we were saying, the tests before we came on air, the tests are so close together that they probably should have managed those 2 a bit better, I think.
You did say Joe Root would score his first Ashes 100, though, down under.
Yeah, I don't think that makes me out. I don't think I should go and have, 50 quid on the 230 at Newmarket tomorrow on the basis of that. I did say that, and I'm glad he got 2, so it couldn't just be looked at as a one-off. And that was great to see, wasn't it? He's such a wonderful player. Did we think he's England's greatest batsman of all time?
Well, Tim Wigmore doesn't agree. He still goes for Jack Hobbs, doesn't he? So
does he? Okay, yeah. Well, Tim knows more than me about these things, but I think he's got to be in the conversation. Hobbs, Hammond, Hutton, and Root. I think those are the 3. Don't you think? 4. Sorry, those are the 4.
Was it the sense of anticipation that has led to more disappointment on most going and watching from home?
Yeah, I think most definitely. I mean, as I said, I did all these events booking events promoting Victory in Australia. Before the first test, I did one on the evening actually the series started, which was great in Marlborough, and people were really looking forward to it. And I don't think anyone was swaggeringly overconfident, but there really was a feeling that this enough thrashings had passed, and this was the time to go out there and if not win, then at least maybe draw or maybe be in the series up until the final test. Definitely, that's a big part of the disappointment is that. And also, I mean, you were out there, Stephen. That it seemed to me that there were more people than ever went. I mean, I know tens of thousands. There's a lot of people go now every time we tour there, and I've been myself in 2010, 11. It's a great thing to do, but it felt to me like there were more than ever people going out. Was that your sense?
Oh yes, definitely. And I'm doing a future podcast with two gentlemen I met on my trip out there who were doing all five. So I don't know how many people were doing that, but a Graham Pickering and an Ian Jones, they were doing all five tests, and I've kept in touch with them a little bit. I saw them both at the test matches, and I'm going to do a podcast with the two of them, hopefully get them on at the same time, to find out what it was like doing all five, and whether they were that disappointed, or I think when you go on these trips, there is the sense that it's bucket list, it's a holiday, and it's not just
about the cricket, is it? Goodness gracious, no. It's a you might only do it once, if you. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever do it again. So yeah, definitely a bucket list thing. Somebody said to me, why on earth do so many people go when we always get stuffed over there? And I said, well, they're disappointed, but it's not like traveling 50 miles to see a football team and seeing them lose, is it? It's a huge experience.
Yeah, I might be speaking out of turn. I might be speaking out of turn. I haven't spoken to him yet, but in some ways, people seem to be more disappointed on these shores than the people that have gone out to watch. I might be wrong here, but
I think that's probably a very sound theory there, Stephen. Yeah, I think that's probably yeah. I'm sure I'll be very interested to know what the guys say, actually.
So what do you think England need to do now, both on and off the field?
Well, Stokes should stay as captain if he wants to. Obviously, we've discovered a talent in Bethel, which makes you think that if Brooke can get his head on straight and Root carries on for a few more years, we've got the basis of a decent batting lineup there. Got to solve the wicketkeeper situation. Should McCullum carry on? I think probably not. Probably not. I'm not one of these people who, in the age of social media, there's a clamour for, you see it with football managers, don't you? There's a clamour for change all the time, as if the next appointment's always going to be the one that puts things right. I don't share that, but I think it looks to me as if McCullum was always a very good short-term appointment to pick them up, to put them in a better place, to free them up a bit from the sort of slightly dog in a manger mindset that they got into. He was perfect for that. So I don't think we should be rewriting history to pretend that, Baz Ball and Brendan McCullum was always a bad thing from the start. It wasn't. But whether he can change his approach enough to move them on. I mean, we haven't actually beaten anybody significant, have we?
No.
What are the latest rankings, Stephen? Where are we?
I think we're seventh now in the World Test Championship. So, yeah.
That rather makes my point, doesn't it? He's had how many years and we still haven't beaten, India at home, India away, or Australia at home and Australia away.
One player you just picked out there before we end, you sound, as many of us have been, impressed with the way Jacob Bethel batted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be totally frank. I knew very little about him. I obviously knew he was a huge talent to get on an Ashes tour with so little first-class cricket. That was an amazing innings, and he did look the part. It wasn't just a didn't have that feeling of a one-off, did it? I mean, you can look back through history. One-off, David Milan got 100 on, was it 2017-18? And that's not to malign him at all. But you didn't think that was necessarily the beginning of a great Test career, did you? Whereas this lad looks like he's, the real deal. And so there's good signs of optimism there. We've seam bowlers have done okay on occasions. So Bethel's might stand out despite having not played in, too many of the matches. If this tour showed us anything, it's shown up the ridiculousness of the domestic schedule and the ignoring the county championship and, not playing any of it in a time when spinners, or much of it in a time when spinners might prosper. So it just feels like that's been exposed, really. But with the 100, I don't think that's going to change, really.
No. Finally, a mark out of 10 for England?
A mark out of 10. Can only be 2, can't it? I don't know what other people are going to say when they come on, but I think it can only be 2. I mean, it has been so disappointing, and they've been well beaten in all but that Melbourne Test, which was a bit of a freak anyway. 2 out of 10, Stephen.
On a personal level, before we go, any books in the pipeline?
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear. I can't say anything about it, but I'm waiting to hear. I have a proposal in with Bloomsbury, who published Victory in Australia. I believe they're considering it very shortly. So whether I'll get it's another vintage cricket thing, which seems to be my thing. But thank you. You were very good at mentioning the book as you went around Australia, so I really appreciated that.
My pleasure. Well, hopefully it's another cricket book you're going to be writing, so we'll look forward to that. Yeah,
a cricket with a bit of football.
Right, it's interesting.
It's crossword clue solvers out there might be able to work that out, but I'll say no more. But I'll come back on as soon as I know a bit more.
Well, thank you very much. You'll have to come on the podcast when the book's published in about 2 or 3 years' time. Yeah,
obviously, I'd love that. Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much again, Richard, for joining us on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks for listening to part 4 of The Ashes, The Final Say. You can find all previous episodes in this series on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or on our YouTube channel.